Kindergarten Word Study by Angela Myers in EDU 290. To start off this presentation of word study, we are dealing with the ages 4 through 6. Children first start with phonetics. Phonetics is the study of speech sounds. There are three main components in phonetics. The first one is articulation. Articulation is producing speech sounds using body parts. Some body parts would be the tongue, the lips, the hard and soft palate, and the whole respiratory system. The second one is perception. Perception is hearing the sounds being made, and the brain tries to process and analyze. Lastly is acoustics. Acoustics are the physical characteristics of speech sounds, which is the way the sounds can be pronounced. The reason we as teachers have to understand phonetics is so we can help our students who are still learning speech sounds understand and fix their mistakes. The next important key to kindergarten learning is phonemics. Phonemics is also known as the study of how sounds are used. In phonemics, they begin to analyze the arrangements of sounds. One unit of phonetics is also known as a phoneme. Phonemes help us distinguish one word from another. An example of a phonemic and a use of a phoneme is die and pie. They have the same ending but a different beginning letter, so the meaning has a different sound. Something similar to phonetics is graphophonemics. Graphic phonemics is known as letter sounds and phonological awareness. It helps to notice syllables. Not only does it help distinguish syllables, but it also helps children focus on the structure of the word. Since it's letter sounds, young children tend to respond to rhyming words first. Semantics is the study of language meaning. Semantics is relative to 220 Dolch words, which we will discuss later. It is based upon certain rules, which are rules for meaning of word, content of the word, and combination of the word. It is based on everyone's own specific vocabulary, and according to language, it is used as content. Another key that we help children develop is syntax. Syntax has rules also. Those rules are word order and word plus object relationship. A good example of syntax is the wug was slugged by the whipper. This is a correct syntax because it's in the order correctly. Even though wug and whipper are not correct words, that child has placed it in an order that makes it seem valid. Teaching kindergarten, this is what teachers look for. Syntax, according to language, is used as form because of the order. Since kindergartners are beginning to use sentences and specific words, they tend to blend them together. With blending words, we need to show them that each sound and word has a significant meaning. Through repeated exposure of showing and telling them, their vocabulary and sentences begin to grow. There are three kinds of strategies that can be used to increase their vocabulary and sentences. Those three strategies are context clues, word structure, and analogy clues. As we teach, we have to make sure that they are learning words. Children can learn words as early as 12 months, but they continue to learn throughout their whole lives. With word learning, children have to understand meaning and relationship with each and every word. There are 4 strategies of word learning. The first is keyword method. The second is incidental learning. The third is repeated exposure. And the last is pre-teaching of vocabulary. Since word learning is certain cues, there are 2 kinds of cues, nonverbal and verbal. Nonverbal cues are part of child language and even adult language, and verbal cues are ones that we use all the time. Some verbal cues consist of yelling, crying, whining, and panting. There is more. Nonverbal cues consist of signs, symbols, aesthetics, and physical. Signs consist of sign language, horns, sirens, street signs, and those continue. Symbolic can consist of piercings, tattoos, religion. Aesthetics could consist of music, dancing, painting, and even culture. And finally, physical can consist of facial expressions, body gestures, touch, and smell. Pictures and words are valid techniques that many kindergartners use in order to help them learn. Using matching or showing pictures following the words help the child understand objects. It begins to form their assimilation and accommodation. Due to assimilation and accommodation, it helps them create new schemas. A good example would be matching the alphabet letter A with objects starting with the letter A, such as apple. Part 2 of Pictures and Words is mostly assimilation. Assimilating and accommodation are always helping children learn though. To sum up assimilation, it means that the familiar objects are being put into already existing schemas. Schemas are sort of like folders or a category. But if a child tends to assimilate all the time, a few things could happen. They would end up with too few schemas or folders, and in each folder they would have too many items. If this happens, children would have a difficulty time recognizing differences between things. An example of assimilating is seeing a dog that has 4 legs, and each time that you see an animal with 4 legs, you would consider it a dog, when in fact we know that not all animals with 4 legs are dogs. Pictures and Word Part 3 is mostly about accommodation. Accommodation can be summed up as a child taking in information, but it cannot be fit into an already existing schema, so they have to create a new schema. There could be many problems if a child accommodates all the time. First, if you have too many schemas, you have too many folders. The items in the folder will become less and less. Next, they would have difficulty recognizing similarities in each category. They would have a difficulty because similar objects cannot be categorized together. A good example of accommodation would be with apples. Since there are yellow, green, and red apples, one would have a schema of apples in their mind, with all 3 kinds in one folder. But if we accommodate just all the time, one would have red, green, and yellow apples all into individual schemas, so it would be hard for the child to differ all the kinds of fruit to apples or colors to apples. It is important as teachers to make sure children can understand this process. 220 Dolce Basic Sight Words. Some may question, what exactly are they? They are based on the most frequent found words in children's books. They are usually found in books from grades 12 or K through 12. Many of the Dolce words cannot be sounded out or have a certain meaning. Examples would be a, and, the, and was. Since they can't be distinguished because of the words, they don't follow the decoding rules, and this is why they're considered sight words. Part 2 of 220 Dolce Basic Sight Words. Some may question too, why is this valuable to kindergarten word study? The Dolce test is used to estimate the child's individual reading level. How are they tested? They have to be able to read and identify some of the 220 words. How are they scored? The number of words that are recognizable by the child, the teachers take that number and base their reading level based upon those words. Scale of Dolce words is quite simple to read and score a child on their reading level. On the scale, there are 5 different levels that a child can be placed on. The first one is pre-primer. Pre-primer is the first level, and it's average for preschoolers. The second one is primer. Primer is the second level, and it's an average for kindergartners. First year is the third level, and it's an average for first graders. Second year is fourth level, and it is an average for second graders. Lastly, third year is up to the 5th in the last level, and it is an average for third graders and up. The average before starting kindergarten is about 40. This is my citation page. This citation page holds all the credible sources of information that I have used. Throughout kindergartners' first year, they have so much to learn, and as teachers, we have many things to teach. In order for the students to succeed, these are basics that should be noticed or taught in order for students to understand.